Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming. And this is the August 2026 meeting of the Camera Club of Richmond. I'm Martin Evans, the president, and I'm not a hog for the spotlight. I am giving the presentation this evening, but only because there was a conflict and they asked me, could I do it? But I'm not trying to hog the spotlight. Somebody may be already talking about this. Paul, were you going to mention that? But the last meeting we had technical issues, and it turns out, I think I can speak for the techies, that when people put their images in JPEG, Zoom didn't like it, and it self-destructed. And so just be careful not to use JPEG and just use JPG. And that seemed to be the problem. So if you want to sabotage the thing, you put JPEG. But it looks like technical, that was what happened. Many thanks to Mary Fitz Taylor and Jamie Hayes for a great job that they did and the images for July. Karen, is that up on the web? Great. Great. So if you didn't see it or want to see it again, it's there. It was wonderful and very technical. New members, Susan, any comment?
All right. We have one guest, and his name is Steve. And Steve, I'm sorry, I'm going to mess up your last name. So will you say it for me?
Race.
Race. Steve Race is our guest this evening.
Welcome.
And lastly, I'm asking for a couple of volunteers. You can contact me at membership at CCR for helping me greet guests and new members as they come in. It's kind of hard to keep up with paperwork, and it'd be nice to have a couple of volunteers. And that's it for me.
Great, thank you. You've seen a couple of advertisements about Fred's class, which is coming on Saturday, August 15th. If you're a Lightroom user or if you're just starting, it will be great. But even if you're an experienced user, I am positive that you'll find something of value in the course. Fred and I were talking about this earlier, and I say every day is a school day. You can learn something from somebody else every single time. And if you think you know it all, you go somewhere else because you don't. Fred, any comment?
Yeah, just emphasis on a couple of things. Notice the title on the side says Lightroom Classic, not Lightroom. Lightroom Classic, most current version. They just did an update in August that is amazing. We'll probably spend an hour at the end of the day going through the top 10 updates over the last 3 months. There've been more than that. Just that's one of the things I want to be sure that everybody understood. I taught this class a couple of months ago, and 2 people showed up just with Lightroom on their computer, not Lightroom Classic. So I just want to be sure everybody understood where we were. And, come join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, and it is a hands-on class. Bring your stuff. I'm going to give you files. We're going to create catalogs. We're going to look at Lightroom A to Z, but it's not a class where you come and just kind of take notes. It's definitely hands-on. So thank you, Martin.
Great. The class is $60, and it's a whole day, and that's hard to beat. And you can find value in not just what Fred says, but interacting with other people. So if you've got an afternoon or a day free, consider it. This is the way you can pay for it with the QR code. Any other comment, Doug? I saw Doug earlier. Okay. Jane, any comment on this? The next September 8th is Kevin Morley. And then we've got Bill Draper, Scott, and then the banquet on December 9th. Anthony is volunteered a hands-on in-studio critique for members. His is a different model than Fred's didactic Lightroom thing, mostly towards I think, a one-on-one or deeper dive into a process. And if you don't know Rumley, he's an excellent teacher, also very highly technical, good eye for things that can be made better. Yeah, the image evaluation on September 8th, the reminder is to get the images in so you're not submitting them at 11:59 and you're trying to get under the wire, because even though the instructions are everywhere, online, in the magazine, everywhere, everybody always stumbles. And if you leave yourself a little extra time, he can get back to you and correct your stumble. Well, multiple exposures means that you've taken more than one exposure. And the question that I would ask is, can it be done in camera or can it be done in post? And the answer is in either, or both, I guess.
If you go to our newsletter, you will find in there what examples of multiple exposures and a couple websites that you can look for.
There have been a number of presentations, which I think you can find also if you look back at the meetings on multiple exposures or similar things, and there will be presentations that will be helpful.
The session that they're talking about was with Laura Twining, and I believe it was either December or January of this year. But if you go to the YouTube, go to CCR's homepage, there's a link to YouTube. And then when you get in there, look at monthly meetings and you'll see it, you'll be able to see it. Laura Twining, and it was multiple exposures. And she did a really nice job of going over how to do it in camera.
But it doesn't have to be done in camera if you wanted to do something. But the idea is that it's more than one exposure. Michael, I did see, Michael Orr. So quiet. And the library exhibit is open. And I saw, did I see Pat here? Yes.
Yeah, thanks to Patricia Munford for
Yeah.
all the photos. That photo is from Patricia after she finished hanging the show. It looks really nice.
September 10th for the Glen Allen thing. And remember, the VCU is the November, December timeframe. I do know that Michael is traveling somewhere.
He wasn't able to be here tonight, so we were going to thank Richmond Pro Lab for the tour. That was excellent. That's one of the photos from the tour. And then they also, as you heard as you came in the door, they donated 4 $50 print coupons. And then Doug sweetened the pot a little bit. Doug has also offered 2 prints. So if Susan has the bin, we're going to do the drawing right now. And I believe Ann Fulcher was here. Ann, would you draw for us? Okay, Ann's going to draw. So get your tickets out.
Just to emphasize, this machine on the tour, I think he told us it was $750,000, and it was combined with another machine to put a covering on it, and that was $200,000. So this gadget that we take for granted when we send our prints in is $1 million, and they had 5 of them.
And
Karen, you're on.
The first winner is, I'm not going to read the first 4 digits, the first 5 digits, because I think they're all the same. 020. For the Richmond Pro Lab print certificate. Do we want the lights on? 020. Okay, it's Ike. All right, you want to be my runner?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Now we have one. Oh, now we have lights. Okay, 024.
No, you should play the lottery then now.
Okay, and Ann's going to draw again.
Was that Bob Pappas who won?
All right, 003. And I have proxy for Mike and Bruce Yoder. So Michael Bryant, if you're on if you're on Zoom, 003, he got one of them. All right, and we have one more. Okay, one more from Richmond Pro Lab, 022. All right, and then is somebody writing these down, please? Thank you. And now print number 1 from Doug Turner, 018. Doug, you did not win your own. Such a comedian. 018. Oh, Lisa. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. And our final one. Thank you, Ann. Didn't know we would put you to work tonight, huh? A big number. 035.
Oh.
Oh, don't throw it away. All right. And Doug's card is on that slip of paper there, so you can get in touch with him. I will caution you, there's a short turnaround time on the Richmond Pro Lab print coupons. They didn't give me very much leeway on those, so get those orders in quickly. Yes, Doug? All right, Doug says any size up to 24 by 36, and he does an awesome job. Okay.
And Doug, do you have one of these gadgets in your house? Yeah.
Doug does not have the $1 million printer.
Yeah. The Nation's Photo Lab made us an offer that you can see on this, $30 off the first Photo Lab order. It was nice of them to stimulate that and exclusive discount at checkout. This will be posted, I think is in the magazine and is posted here. So keep an eye out and use that in conjunction with all the other offers. Should be no excuses for not having prints.
Again, the Camera Club of Richmond's photo editor, Karen, has excelled in our publication entry into the Photographic Society of America's annual competition for they call it now magazine, right, Karen? And Karen has also been a judge for the Photographic Society of America, which is quite an honor for her. And Karen, we congratulate you on this year's entry. She won an honorable mention, a 4th place, and this is worldwide. This isn't just America, this is worldwide. And now our membership has grown back up to 5,600 members. So we're growing, and we're just so proud of Karen and her excellent contribution. So be sure to read your Southern Exposure from page to page. Congratulations.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Terry wants to know which issue, and it was the in memoriam issue that we did for our wonderful Mary DaCosta, who passed away recently. So we did an in memoriam kind of issue with some of her photos, and that was the one. I think we had a couple of really nice articles in there, and they seemed to like it, but not enough to be 3rd or 2nd or 1st. But oh well.
It's always next year.
They do. When I judged the magazines, I think last year I judged magazines. They don't let you judge your own magazine, but when I judge magazines, there's a group in India that when I looked at that one, I went, oh, well, I'm not winning. It really, I mean, they had a list of editors and writers, and I mean, it looked like, you know, a professional magazine. It was really amazing. Ours is not quite there yet. Yes. Well, thank you. And then just to add what Carol said, lots of stuff in Southern Exposure. We usually try to do a spotlight on members. We had a suggestion to do a spotlight on Richmond, so I'm still accepting photos. I'd like to do 1 photo per whoever wants to submit, and I'd love a little story to go along with that. So that'll probably be next year when we pull all of that together. And then if you know someone that we could do a spotlight on, I'm just a nosy reporter and I like meeting people, and spotlights have been fun. We started them in 2020. I think 60 some spotlights now at this point, but it's been fun. I've gotten to know people in the club with that. And then that's my email address to get in touch with me. Yeah, our education director had to take a little bit of a sabbatical. So the board stepped in, and several of us have been organizing things, as you saw earlier, the symposium with Fred, and Jane has working on the Anthony Rumley. And I frankly just wanted to go to the Valentine and Richmond City Hall and didn't want to go by myself. So I set up a couple of meetups, and those are the dates: August 27th for the Valentine, August 28th for Richmond City Hall. We'll get a lot of photography in that week, and they're both free. So CCR meetup, they're posted there. Be sure to register and just come and have a good time. So far, the City Hall is just us right now. And I think we have 10 people, and they can take up to 18. So I can go grab extra spots if other people sign up. But so far, it's just our group, and it does meet on the 28th at 3 p.m. And they'll show us around and let us take pictures and all that good stuff. So it should be fun.
Big thank you to Mike Bryant for manning the control booth last month. I know we had that little JPEG versus JPG. So appreciate him actually helping out a little further to test and kind of flush out that issue. Again, just need some assistance. I got a lovely assistant today with Karen. Thank you. And just helping pass the mic. And Jane was helpful with setting up equipment as well. So many hands make light work.
Yeah, anybody who's interested in the night sky, the Persons meteor shower is tomorrow night. This is supposedly the best meteor shower of the year, up to 100 meteors per hour. You basically look northeast. I guess it starts out more north and then northeast. Anywhere from 10 p.m. on. And yeah, there's a little chance of rain, and the cloud cover may not cooperate, but I thought I'd mention it, and if we get lucky.
But it's both nights, isn't it?
Well, okay, it peaks tomorrow night, okay? But, you know, it'll be other nights too, but at a lower frequency. So it's coming up, and I mean, even tonight, if you had clear skies. What I didn't put on there is 12:12 a.m. on August 28th. There's a maximum eclipse of the peak of the moon. So I think it's like 90%-ish. So there's still going to be some white glow there, but the rest of the moon's going to be this reddish, nice reddish color.
It's going in the absence of who was supposed to talk. I thought I would give a little blurb on My American's African Safari. And some of you heard some of this in the digital group, but I've reformatted it. Some is similar, but a lot is not. And I'm going to fly through a million slides, and we'll see how they turned out. Paul, where do I go? This is not Africa.
So while Paul is switching, Martin, tell us how close you were to that lion when you took that picture.
Well, in most of the safaris, it's, you see people with these giant lenses, but in fact, the animals are about from me to the front row. They're not far. And they view the Jeep as a barrier. And so everybody says, don't get out of the vehicle. And there are lots of stories about people who didn't listen, but the answer is don't get out of the vehicle. So we'll go through some things that you may find interesting tonight. One of the things that was curious to me was the names of all these places change all the time, and you really, unless you're going, you don't really pay much attention to where Zambia is or Namibia. But this trip is about Namibia and South Africa. And Namibia is obviously on the west coast, and South Africa is on both coasts. But there's some interesting parts about that. Dangerous areas, according to the State Department this year, these are don't goes for all the obvious reasons and so forth. You could make the list longer if you wanted to, but at least the State Department has this on their list. Here's the part that I find amusing. Africa is huge, and the maps tend to distort the hugeness of it. Because look at, if you look and you put all of these countries in the fingerprint or the footplate of Africa, you can fit the UK, Japan, China, India, Eastern Europe, the US, all of these countries, Belgium, all in the footprint of Africa. And you think, well, Texas is pretty big, isn't it? And the answer is Texas is only 84% as big as Namibia. And if you go back and you look at Namibia is this little place down here. So it is huge. And the perspectives we don't give credit to as much as you should until you start to travel there. These are some general rules. Maybe everybody knows this, but West Africa generally doesn't have malaria. Whereas if you go on the east side, there are all these other diseases that you're supposed to be vaccinated for. Luggage, they say use soft-sided, and on some places they even exclude hard-sided luggage. And I guess that's because they want to pack everything in the plane and they don't want hard-sided. And depending on the airline and the place you're going, this may or may not be a rigid rule. Clothing, long sleeves, neutral colors. The black and blue attracts insects. Be prepared for dust, and the timing of the year is important because of dry season, the animals gather at the water holes, and the wet season, less tourists. Venkat had some story about his cousin who didn't read the part about the dark colors and got tsetse flies or something and got hospitalized. Am I saying that right? And so that there's some real focus on that. The thing about lots of stories about the tourist demise, don't wander at night, obviously. You try to avoid changing lenses. So if it means you take more than one camera, do, because the dust is awful. Lots of batteries and cards because you don't know how much time you're going to spend back at your hotel to charge things. And remember, it's not a fashion show. People bring lots of clothing and they want to get dressed up to go in the Jeep and get all dusty. Light aircraft in East Africa, 33 pounds is often the limit, including your camera. And so, and deed at 30%, which is, I think, one of the strongest. So if you're going to Africa and you've got this 33-pound thing, you start saying, okay, let me see how much my camera weighs. Oh my God, my camera weighs 30 pounds. So I can take 3 pounds of clothing. It really, you become very creative in how you do that stuff. So it's pretty neat. For this trip, and there are a lot of people in this group who've been many more times than me. I and Ike and Venkat are going again in January, different destination. But for the purposes of this talk, these were the places that we went, and we added on these, which were our choices. So we extended the trip from this guy, Brendan Van Saun, who does trips all over the world. And it was a very, very good trip. You needed help with the place because it's not, I won't say you can't do it on your own, but and we had one of the biggest travel photographers around that went on the trip with me, Venkat. Just to put you in perspective, this was our path. And again, remember Namibia, about the size of Texas. So you go to the coast, you go here, there, and yon, and we'll go through some of those places. This is what I took. Probably too much stuff, but it was worth having. We were going to do some night stuff, so I thought a tripod was needed. A GPS device I like to do a lot, and I'll show you some of the reasons why. But 2 bodies and several lenses. And this is what it looked laid out in our dining room. And this is what it looked like packed up. Not terribly weighty, but it had to be less than the 33 pounds. I would emphasize this just to say, if you are good about making a diary or notes, then you don't need this. But I'm not good at that. So I do GPS tagging. You can get it from your phone if the location is set to yes. Take 1 photo at a specific site so you remember, because on a long trip, God, was this in that place or on the, where was this? And if you take 1 picture on your phone and have the location set, you can at least remember where you are. But you must have cell service, cell towers, i.e. not satellites, to get the location. GPS is available, but cell phones are not in U.S. parks. Generally, cell service is not complete in a park. I used a GPS locator. There was a story that Venkat and I were going to meet up in Glacier National Park, and it was the middle of the night, and I drove into Glacier, and I was using my phone as directions, and then no service, and I was freaked out. To give you a reminder, GPS, this is a nice setting. You sort of know where it is. This is the Dolomites, and this is the cow, and you figured out, okay, where is it? Well, if you use GPS tagging, you can tell by the orange is where you took the picture, and it will give you altitude at 62, 69 feet, and it'll give you the specific location. Yes, and it puts it in the metadata. And then when you go into Lightroom, it has what your GPS location was and the altitude, and it tags the photo. So if you click this, it will open up the 28 photos that you took from that spot. And you can actually zoom in a little more and tell exactly where you were standing when you took those pictures. So it'll jog your mind, it will bring back a memory, it will tell you where you were. Yes, Shane? No, it has a single AA battery, and it will go for a week. No. You attach it on the top of the camera. Some cameras have it made into it. Some of the old DSLRs had it as part of the software. But you can link it to your phone and do it that way. But I just say it's a nice thing to have to tag where you are. Was there another question?
It pulls the signal from where?
If you use the phone, it's cell towers, and if you use the GPS, it's satellite. Unique rules, plastic bans in Africa. All single-use plastic is not permitted in these places. Day 0 was Johannesburg. Johannesburg in apartheid time was a very wealthy place for those who were white and very poor for those who were black. After apartheid disappeared, this square, Mandela Square was erected and some other things. But they have some neat sculptures that were there in the square. The other thing you figure out, we took a tour around Johannesburg, and it looked like a true ghetto with street signs dangling and street lights dangling. It was pretty rough. And our driver said, don't open the windows, don't stick your arm out, don't do anything like that because this is too rough. But in the tour, you figure there's some money there somewhere because look at this. This dealership was Rolls, Porsche, Bentley, Mercedes, BMW, in the middle of Johannesburg. Crazy. We flew into Johannesburg. We did not drive this distance because it was 16 hours. And we were headed to Namibia. The first night was a place in Windhoek, Chameleon Backpackers, pretty place, pool, nice. You had 5 minutes of warm water, and then they suggested you turn it off because there's always a water shortage. The next night was in the Quiver Tree Rest Camp, and we were headed to see these, and this is the only place I think on earth that has this particular tree. There's some Balboa trees and some other things that look very similar, but at least for the Quiver Tree, Namibia is the place. And they told us about, now, let me just tell you, ladies and gentlemen, when you go out there and the sun sets, it's going to be dark. So do not go far from your camera bag, especially those of you who have a black camera bag. Okay, sure. I'm going to stand here. I'm going to take my picture, etc. So you're getting these pictures. The sun's going down, and they're a half a dozen, no, maybe 10 people with cameras, and then it's night. And I'm here to tell you, you can't find your camera bag if it's 3 feet from you. And I said, yeah, come on. And then you take out your flashlight, turn off the light, all the people around you, because you can't find your stupid camera bag. We went to, this is a cheetah. Cheetahs are endangered, and we went to a place that raises cheetahs, and they asked us not to use GPS tagging on that because the poachers, but the animals were gorgeous. And they were feeding them out of, she said, this lady says, last year we let all the people come and feed them like this, but our liability carrier said that wasn't a good idea. Anyway, she's on the other side of this little fence and she's feeding the cheetahs like they're just, yeah. And they're right there. All right, Quiver Tree to Coleman Scope is on the coast. So we're headed to Coleman Scope and Luteris. And this is what ocean? What ocean? The Atlantic Ocean? Yeah. Yes, German, right. So this is the way there, and as you can see, there ain't much there. They do have trains. They do have wild horses, and we stopped and took some pictures. But this place is known for it used to be a diamond mine, abandoned in 56, and in its prime produced 1 million carats a year. And it was built in classic German style with indestructible buildings, you think. So it's been abandoned for, a long time. And what happens is that the sand is famous for occupying the buildings. And they have sand dunes, and the sand dunes come and go, and they will fill up a building, and they will overcome the road, and you can't tell where the road is anymore. And people are driving, and they get buried in the sand. Yeah, it's crazy. But there are a lot of famous pictures with the sand coming and going in these essentially concrete buildings. This is a very well-known picture with essentially a freestanding door. You're trying to get people not to put their footprints all over the sand, but that's hard to do. But every once in a while you get some pristine looking things, and it's sort of a cool picture, but a strange place nonetheless. This is our guest house at Luderitz. Luderitz is on the coast, which was gorgeous. And in Namibia, the roads are so wonderful, you have to bring at least 2 spare tires, everybody. And we used them. And you're driving along and, somebody's got a flat tire. We had 3 vehicles, and I think we had 4 flat tires. And so it's a real deal. Namibia is famous for its red sand dunes, and they change all the time. They are numbered. This is Dune 45, and it's 540 feet. Big Daddy is 1,000 feet. And again, in GPS land, taken from Lightroom, you can see where we stopped all along the way. Each of these is sand dunes. And in my usual spray and pray phenomenon, 392 pictures here. Yeah. But each of these is, the sand dune looking towards the ocean. Yes. Oryx are all over the place, and the classic picture is these animals in front of the red sand dune. Classic sand dune with shadows on both sides. One of the things I did not like about the trip was that they wanted to do tents in between the outside perimeter and the inside perimeter of the camp. And the idea was that the tour buses would have to wait on the outside until a certain time. If you were in between these 2 walls, you could get an early start and you could be there before the tour buses. So in that aspect, it was great. But I'm past Boy Scout camping, and I didn't love this. Also, it took time to set this up. And so if you're an old man and you're in a tent, where do I pee? You see that building? Oh my God, really? So that's a part I did not like, and I hear that they've abandoned that. But here's the showstopper. Dead Valet is a salt flat with petrified trees. And this is the salt flat, obviously. You hike over this sand dune to get there. I made a terrible mistake about hydration. And I was drinking water, but not enough. And I did not have access to Gatorade or stuff, and I won't do that again. And I got the worst cramps in my legs, like football cramps, and I basically couldn't go the next afternoon. because it was just so painful with the cramps. So hydration is important, but electrolytes also. But this was a pretty impressive place. So you go there, and again, GPS land. This is where I took pictures, and this dead valet thing is in this little alcove. And the photographs that you get are the sand, the seabed, which it was, the salt flat, the petrified tree, and some form of red sand dunes behind it. The question was, if there are no 7-Elevens or similar places there, how do you keep up? And the answer is you have to be extremely mindful at meals to get water, to buy something from the hotel. And again, I was not good at that, and I should have been. And the number of choices is not really unlimited. And so I learned a lesson and won't do that again.
You should be able to get a Gatorade. So,
Well, here, but not there. But yes, that would have been the ideal. Right, exactly. Yeah. So this is on the way to Swakopmund, I guess is the way you say that. Pretty dramatic. The sky is all red from the dust and the sand. The trees are few and far between. But dramatic place. You know, some judge is going to say, I don't like the color of that. Well, you weren't there, buddy. With difficulty. And that's why I say you really try very hard not to change lenses, because it really will tear it up. And you blow it, brush it, cover it, all of those things. What did I do with lenses? And for most of the things that I've been showing thus far, just a simple 24-105 or 24-120 standard walk around kind of lens is fine. That dead valet picture was a wide angle, but most of these were nothing fancy on the lens. Everybody know where the Tropic of Capricorn is? What year of geography was that? Well, just as a little reminder, it's this line, and it goes through the bottom of Africa. So that was the sign of the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay.
Got all up. Oh, shit. Tropic of Capricorn.
Yes. It's red dust, or the dust from the sand, or both. No, no. Let's see if this will work again. Swakopmund is a strange place on the coast. The Himba tribe women, they don't bathe. They use smoke baths in lieu of water because there's not much water. Skin and hair is covered with whatever, however you pronounce that, but it's butterfat and red pigment, and misspelled, to protect against the sun. And they walk around topless, and you go in the grocery store and something's wrong with this. There are these topless women walking around. They're big on their hair, and this, whatever that is the butterfat as well. Strange. The hotel was gorgeous, and the architecture in the city was neat, and the coastline was wonderful. Now, understand that at this point in the trip, I've lost my coat. I don't know where it is. It's blown away. I don't know. Nobody can find it. It's back in the tent in the Dead Valet. I don't know where it is. So I don't have a coat. It's hot as can be in everywhere we've been, but here it is freaking freezing. And the guide felt so bad for me. I can't do. I mean, it's just freezing. The wind is blowing. I'm freezing. Yeah, just crazy. The Skeleton Coast is what it is. This particular ship, the waves are crashing on it. Sort of a neat thing, but it's right at the water's edge. It's been there for years, and the one that fall apart. Pretty rough for no wind and so forth. Cape Cross Lodge, neat place, again on the coast, where we're headed to a seal preserve. And I'm here to tell you, it was fun watching, but the smell was really punishment. And there are a lot of seals there. Yeah. Gruber Lock to Maryland is an intermediate stop. This was sort of a curious place where the fixed pallet, concrete pallet, and a tent on it, and bathrooms that were built out of stone with critters running all over the place. So you just have to be careful there, but interesting. And then on the way to the next stop, you see all of these creatures that are everywhere. And you just wonder how they can survive in this environment. Kudu, neat, because look at the ground. It's just looks like hay, I guess. But there's not much there. So people say, well, how close are you to the animals? This close. And sometimes you take out your cell phone and do a cell phone thing because it's your camera. Where's the oh, it's in the back. Oh God. So you get this kind of images because it's right there. And the African elephant is huge. It is just huge. And they're eating this stuff with the thorns. I'll show you a picture. They throw dust on themselves to make the color lighter because the gray absorbs sunlight and it makes them hot. Their ears, when they flap them back and forth, are well vascularized, lots of blood vessels in them. And by waving the ear back and forth, it cools them off because there's a lot of circulation there. But they throw this dust all over themselves and it turns them white. So it's almost a white elephant, but the lightness of it makes them cooler, and they do this dust thing all the time. Springbok are like deer. So we're headed to this place, and it's a pretty cool place. and it's Etosha National Park. And we've gone from down here, Swakopmund, Cape Cross with the seals, and we've traveled up to this place. As you can see, I hit the button a lot. 4,000 pictures. And when the elephant gets in your way, yes, sir. Yes, sir, I got it. So people are hanging out of the vehicles, but you can see how big this thing is. It's just huge. Jackals are all over the place at the water hole. There's a kill and a family of cheetahs. And they had a neat thing built out of rock. This rock thing that you climbed up on had a little bit of a cover on it. And again, how close are you? I don't know, probably 20 yards, 25 yards. But the animal's at the water hole. And here come the animals. And my thing is, it was amazing to me because it was like God said, there's a queue here. Okay, zebras, you go last because you start with a Z. Elephants, you go. And here came the elephants. They stayed for 20 minutes and then they left. Here come the zebras. They stayed for 20 minutes and they left. And you go, who's doing this? I mean, it was organized. Let's see if this will do. So here come the elephants. Now there will be some, a random something down here, but here come, elephant turn. Sometimes, yes. This is one of many that I took with all these birds and the zebras and the birds in front of the zebras, and you'll see. So the picture that I like probably the most is this one, and I kept saying, why don't the birds get out of the way? I need a picture of these zebras and the reflections. And then I thought, what if I got a picture of this? Where's Waldo? And people have looked at it and said, what is all this stuff here? That's the birds, man. Kudu at the water hole. I knew, but I've forgotten. They're common. They're like sparrows. I mean, this guy is big. And again, yes, sir, in the road. You want the road? You got it. You got it. Again, same thing. You're going to stop when he says, I'm going to take the road for a little while. But they're truly right beside you. And here again in my who's in the queue.
That's just the salt of focus.
Here come all these guys headed to the water hole. Ugly characters, but now here's the part that I like a lot. Now, at the water hole, you've got these guys and you got the top of the food chain. And these guys all froze. They don't move. This guy, they come in and all these guys, they're still. And these guys are going getting their water, but these guys are not moving at all. These guys are what's for dinner, but they let them, they coexisted at the water hole. This termite mound, which is huge. The yellow billed hornbill is all over the place. These guys are all over the place. This one is pregnant. Nuzzle land. It depends on what side of the ocean you live on. But again, stay in the Jeep. These guys are going to leave you alone. And no. Right. So after all of that, Venkat and I had hired a plane, and here's where that big dialogue of the 33 pounds and the thing, and do you get rid of your clothing? And we put some of our clothing in a suitcase and left it at an airport, and we got this little bitty thing. And what's important? The camera. Just bring the camera, and we'll wear the clothes for 3 days. Who cares? It is so dry, you can wash out your stuff if you can get water. You can wash out your stuff. It will dry in a few minutes, but you don't leave it outside because of the bot flies. Will make a nest in your underwear. So if you're going to wash it, you stand there and watch it dry and then bring it in. This is a place called the Bush House, and it's a very nice setting. This is their guide thing. And out here, you see some chairs, because just past that is the water hole. And the thing that was neat about this place is it had a bunker. And you went underground and came up in this place where you had a chair and a refrigerator and a place to prop your camera. And here's the water hole. So you could stay there a long time. And this is the other side, and this is the bunker. And you can see the animals are here. Here's the water hole. The hotel is back here, but here's the bunker. It was very cool, I thought. Hornbill. And at the water level, this is what you get. Or that's what you get. It is 6 shots. The impala are neat, again, at the water level, and they fight like every male does for female rights. The giraffes are all over the place. I've never seen a giraffe sitting down before, and I thought that was strange. Again, back at the water hole, again, water level with these beautiful creatures like that guy. Yeah. The water buffalo that were in the thing. The hyena. This guy is stronger than this guy. In the food chain, this guy always goes first. And this guy, the brown hyena, this is spotted obviously, the brown hyena fluffs himself up to look bigger. And sometimes he might get out of order on the food chain because he thinks he's bigger. But generally, this guy waits until this guy's finished. And we were sitting there to kill. This guy's eating like crazy. This guy's over here. Okay, I'm in the queue, and waits. The River Lodge in Madikwe was a very different setting with a river and greenery and so forth. And this is the place that you went for. This is your room, essentially. And it has a balcony and it's a tent on stilts. This was the eatery. This is Venkat's favorite creature who kept stealing his lunch. He comes in, steals Venkat's roll, goes running outside, gets up in the tree, and we're standing there watching him eat the roll. These guys, there's some wild dogs, and these were almost in a circle looking outward. Big horns, can't see well, big ears. But again, I don't see many of those laying down. And this is what big teeth you have. It's a yawn, actually. Newborn. And that's all I have. So there are a lot of you who've been to Africa, and my only comment is for those of you who have not, you can make it a reasonable experience. The airline fares are one of the big stumbles, especially with gas the way it is, but you can find, I think Venkat and Ike are flying from IED to Cape Town direct. Washington, Dulles. And 15 hours or something.
Hey, Martin. How was the food?
15.
IAD to Doha is 14 hours. From Doha to Joburg is 10 hours. Or you can fly Turkish from IAD to Istanbul, 11 hours, and Istanbul to Joburg, 10 hours. Food where, ma'am?
Venkat and I.
Good to know because contrary to my feelings about the matter and about Turkey currently, Ike and I have decided to fly Turkish Airlines. So the food will be a redeeming feature, although my sentiment will not allow it.
For the Zoom folks, people are talking internally here.
Captain is doing Delta from Atlanta to Cape Town, direct flight. I think that's for 15 hours. Yes. It varies. I've been looking at fares for the last couple of months. 3 days ago, Qatar had a very, very good fare. I fly Qatar often, but that fare changed on Friday. Today, when I checked, or was it today? Today we checked? Yeah, today when we checked, Qatar had gone up by $500, so we chose Turkish. So it depends. Usually,
I'm going on Delta because I almost always fly Delta, and I can use some points and this and that. And as he said, my flight from Atlanta to Cape Town, from Washington to Atlanta, Atlanta to Cape Town, long, but I don't have to stop in the Middle East.
Coming back to that picture with those birds and the zebras, those are sparrow-like birds. They're called quailers. Remember?
Yes.
I hope I spell it correctly. I think it's spelled Quela. Koalas that have, there we go. Yes. Sparrows.
Yeah.
I think they, first when I asked a local, he said, oh, they're sparrows. And then I checked later, they are koalas. Depends.
The question is what time of year to go.
If you go during the dry season, all the animals congregate at the watering holes, so they're easier to spot. If you go post rainy season, of course, the same applies to East Africa, Kenya, and Tanzania. The same rule applies, maybe more so. So post rainy season, you shouldn't go during the rainy season. Post rainy season, there's more grass, green, but the animals are a little harder to spot, and they are generally distributed over a wider area, particularly in Etosha in Namibia. It may be different in Madikwe because that's a private game reserve, so they are smaller, and so it's a little different. That's one difference between South Africa and Namibia, Kenya, because there are more private game reserves in South Africa.
But we had in this trip, obviously it was dry season and come to the water hole. I loved that.
Correct.
The trip that we're making in January is South Africa, and different time of the season, we'll see how that turns out with the animals and all the rest. But I think, to me, this trip for me was fine. It was, you saw different things, not just pictures of animals. The trip that's coming up is going to be also has other things other than just safari. And I think it'll be exciting.
Namibia is a fascinating country for landscape. It has very, very unique landscape features, as you noticed here with this wonderful presentation. The sand dunes, the dead trees, the animals, the high sand dunes that drop off into the ocean, the skeleton coast with all those ships that have crashed over the centuries along that northern Namibian coast. It's a fascinating country landscape-wise. I would think it's probably similar to Iceland. Iceland is cold, wet volcanoes and sand and black sand and waterfalls, but this is harsh, dry climate, and the landscape associated with a harsher, drier climate.
There was a car in front of us that truly got stuck in a sand dune because the sand dune had covered the road, and they looked helpless. We had 10 or 12 people and helped them dig out, but they were and they had no Jeep type vehicle. They had just a sedan.
No, I thought that was a Fiat 500. So.
Oh, they always say, turn around, don't drown, right?
Yes. But fascinating. To me, I thought it was a great trip. And I've said this before, and I take too many pictures, and I took 57,000 pictures on this trip. Well, this was with that guy, Brandon Van Saun, who, like I said, travels all over the world, and he's a photographer, and he has a buddy that helps him, and they do scouting trips that are pretty neat, I guess. But I'd rather them go figure that out before I go, because I don't need to be the scout and say, well, this one's not going to work. But
Uzbekistan and then 12 days in Tajikistan, completely different. They are adjacent to each other in Central Asia. Uzbek is slightly more developed. A lot of history, culture, wonderful architecture from the 700s to the 1600s. And Tajik is less developed, still under somewhat repression by their president, who's been ruling for 35 years. And we went to the Far East, which is even less developed. High mountain passes, 15, 18,000 feet, short of breath all the time. So lived this, accommodation was in homestays, poor food, survived on noodles. Yes, cup of noodles. Correct. Currently, I would not recommend Tajikistan. The tourist infrastructure is terrible, but Uzbek, I would strongly recommend it. But anyway, coming back to Namibia.
But Namibia is pretty civilized. And like I said, to me, it was interesting, at least in Johannesburg, how our guide kept saying it was better during apartheid. Really? And I said, what do you mean it's better? He said, well, look at it. You know, the dangling traffic lights and the squalor is what, you know, people sleeping on site. I said, it was better then? He said, oh, yeah. It's nice. And then you go by this auto dealer and you go, really? They're selling Rolls Royces and Bentleys? And he's, oh, yeah, there's still a lot of money here. But the divide is still real, and but just an interesting phenomenon. Anyway, thanks for coming. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Martin.